Now we're going to very quickly move on to the AICE element of complex numbers. So when we have a complex number, we're going to use the letter Z to define that, where Z is A plus BI. And we're also going to use the notation Z star to represent the conjugate of Z, so in other words, A minus BI. Now although it says A plus BI, B could actually be negative here, so this Z could just be A minus 2I, in which case the conjugate would be A plus 2I. If we use a second complex number, we're going to choose to use W, and that's actually what we're going to use for this next question. So we've done systems of equations before, but we certainly haven't done systems of equations where the coefficients are complex numbers. Even worse than that, rather than solving for x and y, we're solving for z and w, but z and w are themselves complex numbers. So we've got two unknowns here, but also each unknown has two components to it, a real element and also an imaginary element. Now when we come to solving these types of things, we still want to use the rules that we used to use it. So we're trying to make coefficients the same here, so we can either add or subtract and eliminate the variables. So if I times the top equation by the bottom coefficient and the bottom equation by the top coefficient, then I should have I, 1 plus I, z, top and bottom, and I can subtract. So that's the first step we're actually going to do here. I'm going to times everything on the top here by I, as you can see here. I'm going to times everything on the bottom by 1 plus I. And then when I subtract, these you can see are the same using the commutative rule. This would cancel out and I would eliminate my z component. So I'm going to have this take away this equals this take away this. And actually at this stage I'm not even going to work out what that is, I'm just going to say that's what we're going to do. So what I did here was a big subtraction problem. Now to try and solve this I need to start doing some simplifying here. So I can see that there's some FOIL that I've got here, and I can also see there's some FOIL here as well. And also I can see that there's some distribution here. Now I'm going to leave the W as a factor here because I'm actually trying to solve for W at the moment. So I distributed here, I applied FOIL here, distributed, and FOIL here. Now I can do some simplifying because I know I squared is negative 1. I can collect terms here, same thing, I squared is negative 1, negative 1, negative 1, collect terms. And then I've got to this stage here. Now, I can combine terms here as well, as these both have to do with W, so 1W minus 2W is going to be negative 1W, and 2I, take away 4I is negative 2I, so I've got negative 2IW. And with W as the factor here, I've got W times negative 1 minus 2I equals negative 4 take away negative 6 is 2, 3I take away 4I is negative I, and then now to solve for W, all I need to do is divide by this. And as I've got to rationalise this, times by the conjugate, and then when you simplify for this, you get I. So clearly you can see this is a much longer question than what we're used to when we're solving systems. And actually we've not even finished this question because after you found one value, you also need to substitute back to find the second value. So we found that W is I, and we can plug back into one of these equations. This seems to be the simplest equation, so let's plug I in there, would probably be the best suggestion. So there was the question we saw at the top of the board. Plug in W as I, and then we can go ahead and solve this. So if we go ahead and distribute there, I can bring this term to the other side, and then I can divide both sides by I. So Z equals 2. So a very, very long question when you're actually doing these. Tests all your skills of addition, subtraction, multiplication of complex numbers, as well as checking your ability to solve a system of equations as well. That's actually question 2A from exercise 11B. And you should try and do question 2B from that same exercise as well. The fact the book only gives 2 of these questions tells you they are very long. Probably too long, I would think, to be an AICE question. I think you'd probably have to have something that works out very nice for them to be able to give you that as one of their questions.